I thought this week would be a good time to talk about why we have a YouTube channel. Um, and the reasoning behind that and why I put in the effort as little as it is into it. I'm not going to get too much into why we garden because that's a much longer, much different video. But why did I decide to start doing a YouTube channel with some regularity, really the past 2 or 3 years, depending on the time of year? Um, and first and foremost, that does kind of come from starting this garden. We bought this property, almost 6 years ago now. And when we moved here, it was a blank canvas. There were no beds. Everything had been cleared. And we started building a garden from scratch. And I really regret not getting all that in one go. We have about an acre here. And to say it's completely different is an understatement. But I don't have much footage of that time and that growth from nothing to what we have today. So I wanted, first and foremost, really to document it for ourselves, one, so we can see what we've done. Also, so that, family and friends, some of whom who don't live close enough to see it in person, can see what we're doing if they want to see or see what I'm talking about, because explaining things to people sometimes doesn't do it justice. Most people, when they come here and they've heard me talk about my garden, they're just kind of blown away because they don't realize how big it is. Not that it's so amazing, even though I think it is, but they're just kind of blown away at the scale of what we do here. I'm just a little less than an acre. So that's part of it, to document it for ourselves and to document it for others. Um, Part of it is that I just have this urge to be creative, which comes out in a lot of different ways, but this is one of them, to try and create videos and a channel that people might be interested in, um, is a big part of it, and learning more about editing and video recording and audio recording and all that stuff. It's something that I've enjoyed doing, and it's an outlet along those lines. And to the main point of like, all right, then what am I trying to do here with this channel? Because we don't do a whole lot of how-to stuff. It's more of just like documenting what I did, how I did it, and key points when I do that. But part of the story of this channel is because most of the people who are on YouTube doing gardening, and there's quite a lot, there's a lot of them that I really love and have learned a lot from their content, but they all tend to have one thing in common, and that is that they are some combination of professional gardener and professional YouTuber. Some of them have market gardens, some of them the gardening is, and the channel seems to be the main part. Some sell seeds, some sell educational material and have been educators and gardeners, but they're people who like their full-time job is around doing their garden and doing the YouTube content that goes along with it. And the importance of those separate pieces varies. And like that's great and all, but YouTube has really gotten very professional, which is nice, but also like I felt like there was this gap of for people who, like ourselves, who work jobs, have jobs that are a primary source of income. The garden is not it, and want to garden well and as much as they can, and like what that really looks like, and the challenges that go with that. Um, some YouTubers are really good at showing you the ugly of gardening and the things that don't work out, but so many of them I see are just they're picture perfect and they don't show the mistakes. And they talk about their struggles, but still, a lot of times they're primarily gardeners. And so I wanted to show that what it looks like. One thing you only ever see me, and that's because Babe doesn't want to be on this. She likes that I do it, but she doesn't want to be on this. But this garden is a project between the two of us. We each kind of have our roles that we do. Obviously, I build a lot of the stuff. She starts a lot of the seeds. We both kind of pick what gets grown. We both plant things. We both weed. Um, we share, but it's not something we can do on our own. And I think a lot of times you get that impression too, where you see one person gardening on YouTube and they don't always talk about the help they have, or you don't realize the help they have, and how much work it takes. And so, as someone who's an amateur or doing this in their spare time, it can be very discouraging, and what you see can be very misleading. And so, we wanted to just share that with other people, so that maybe they'll be a little more inspired to do more in the garden and, be more ambitious about what they do and not give themselves a hard time about the things they fall short in. Um, and hopefully, that's something that connects with people. And then on top of that, some of it is occasionally showing off at like looking how good this is doing when it's doing well. Um, I won't deny that, but that's the idea here: is to have a gardening channel that is really down to earth, really based around like this is what we do in our spare time. Not that like I mean I wouldn't have if I made enough money to not work and do mostly gardening in this like that, then this channel one would be different, but I wouldn't complain about that. But I'm also satisfied in the other parts of my life. And so this is just something I do that's extra that I hope people get something out of, and that if nothing else, I get something out of it, and we get something out of it, and that's why I do what I do. That's why there's an element. It's like I say, I try to get better, but there's also an element in my mind where I'm like we're going for like mid to late '90s public access. That's the spirit of this. So it's just we're just doing the thing, and it comes out how it comes out, and it's great that YouTube is a platform where we can do that. So if any of that is something you're interested in, then feel free to subscribe and follow along. And, I do regular tours. I do how I did stuff. Occasionally I put some footage to music. And we'll see what else I think of doing as time goes on. It all depends on like time, what I get out of it, and as I learn and get better editing and filming and sound and gardening too. They're both kind of endless learning pursuits. So if you're interested in following along with this journey with us, then welcome. That's why we're here, to be the most amateur gardening channel on YouTube. So welcome. That's why we're here. That's kind of the whole spiel. We are here, one, to document progress for ourselves and our loved ones, to show off a little bit, and also to kind of show people who may get a little discouraged or overwhelmed when they see those perfect YouTube gardens, or what people who are working full time in a garden accomplish and think they can't accomplish anything near that. Because it's not true. You can accomplish quite a lot, but there are sacrifices to be made. So, yeah, hope you enjoyed that. Hope the footage that I put along with this was helpful. And we'll see you later. Or not.